is the Metasploit framework. Let's do a really quick comparison between the Metasploit framework and the Metasploit Pro, in case some of you are interested in using Metasploit in your future career. Here, as you can see, you can see there are a lot of different features that the Pro has and the free edition doesn't. But the one that I want to mention today that might be somewhat relevant to the demo that you're going to see at the end of the presentation is the credential brute forcing. So for the Metasploit Pro, you have the automated credential brute forcing, and for the free version, you need to do it manually. And I have examples here. So let's say that you want to do some credential brute forcing. Credential brute forcing, and in the Metasploit framework, you will need to search up and pick one of the modules up here that can be used to do the credential brute forcing. And after you choose the module, you need to manually configure everything, like giving them all the parameters that are required. And if the module didn't work, then you need to find another one and then manually configure it again. But with the Metasploit Pro, you will have this nice user interface where you can basically select all the target services and do an automated process of trying all the modules that they have in the database of the Metasploit Pro, which will save you a lot of time when you're trying to break into a compact system with limited knowledge. So Metasploit framework is an open source and free to use. In fact, it comes pre-installed in Kali Linux. It also works on multiple platforms like Windows and Mac OS. There's no graphic user interface, and as you can see previously, it works entirely from the command line. And this is a really short history of the Metasploit project. It was first created by H.D. Moore using Perl in 2003, and then fully converted to Ruby in 2007. And then in 2009, it was acquired by Rapid7, a security company based in Boston, United States. Now, why would you need to learn Metasploit, or why should we use Metasploit for pen testing? And it's because Metasploit is an industry-accepted tool for testing on vulnerabilities and exploits. It has consistent updates with an active community of 200,000 users and contributors. And more importantly, Metasploit includes more than 1,677 exploits organized over 25 platforms, including Android, PHP, Python, Java, Cisco, and more. The framework also carries nearly 500 ready-to-use exploits or payloads, some of which include common shell payloads that enable user to run script against a host, dynamic payloads that allow testers to generate unique payloads to create antivirus software, static payloads that enable port forwarding and communication between networks. Now, in the simplified way, this is what you're going to do when you're working with Metasploit framework. First, you will need to find and identify the target system, and you scan the target for any vulnerabilities or weak spot that you can take advantage of. Then you select or write your own exploits. Other than that, you just need to send in the payloads to the system. Now we will talk about some important terms and concepts that you might need to know before we dive into the demo for today. So this one is MSF console, which just stands for Metasploit Framework Console. It's a program that you can use to access almost every feature package in the Metasploit framework. There's also the command that you will type into your terminal to call the console, so you can start working with the Metasploit framework. The console also gives you access to regular terminal commands if you need them. The MSF console uses Postgres as their database to store, discover hosts, services, and vulnerabilities. It also allows users to deploy over 1,677 different modules, which can be found in a robust search engine. Modules are modular and deployable programs inside the console that you can use to probe and exploit different vulnerabilities. You can set up all these modules, which, as I said before, there are 1,677 modules that are available in the framework. You can set it up by name, path, platform, time, and etc. The term exploit is referring to the means by which an attacker takes advantage of vulnerabilities within the system. Common exploits includes, as you might already know, like buffer overflow or hash code injections. Auxiliary is a program that allows for vulnerability discovery, which includes scanners, crawlers, and buzzers. And payloads is a malicious program that the framework will inject the target system and get executed inside the system. Encoder is a program that helps the payload to avoid signature-based antivirus software that may be activated inside the system. And then lastly, the post-exploitation allows the attackers to check data and elevate their privilege after gaining initial access to the target system. And then Brandon will touch on this again later in the demonstration.
So before we do the demo, I'm just going to give a brief overview of the tools I'm going to use and how they relate to the 5 penetration testing tool phases mentioned earlier. Obviously, we're going to use Metasploit framework in particular, and you can see the startup screen up there. So starting with the reconnaissance phase, we want to understand what our target is before interacting with it. So in this demo, we're going to use a VM known as Metasploitable, specifically the second version. It is an intentionally vulnerable virtual machine designed by Rapid7 to test modules and to give beginners an environment where they can test out the tool. So now that we know a little bit about the machine, we have to ask ourselves, how do we access this machine? Well, from how I set it up, we know a few things. One, it's running on VirtualBox. Two, it's also connected to the host-only network, VBoxNet0, and which can be found at that address listed over there. So we know roughly where it is, but how do we know which address it is? Because that could be, on that network, there are 255 possible addresses. So we can make use of a tool known as Nmap, which brings us to the scanning phase. It is an open source CLI tool that can be used to discover systems and services running on a given network. It's quite powerful, as it can allow a user to detect versions of running services and even the OS that a user is running. It achieves all of this by analyzing the responses, or lack thereof, to the packets it sends out. Now, Metasploit has a command called dbnmap, which has all the functionality of Nmap, which stores all the data it collects in a Postgres database, so we can call it later using commands such as vulns, services, etc. We'll see that later. Another scanning tool I will demonstrate is called wmap, which scans vulnerabilities in web applications. It's self-explanatory. It's derived from SQLmap, and it's also a very powerful tool and very easy to use. Finally, we'll also make use of the scanner modules. Once we discover the versions of the services running on the system using Nmap, we can check if those versions have some reported vulnerability. And we can use some CVE database on the internet to check this. And if so, we can use these scanners to confirm that this machine is vulnerable to a certain exploit. So after scanning the machine, we're going to make use of the aforementioned exploit modules. These are extremely easy to use, as most of them only require you to fill out a couple of parameters like the target IP. I'll also show you guys how to use MSF Venom. This is a separate tool from MSF Console, and it allows you to generate payloads for different systems. This leaves the actual exploit up to the user, allowing them to use Metasploit's tools for more custom jobs. So after all these tools, we can easily get access to our target VM, as you'll see. But now what do we do? In a few minutes, we're going to deploy an exploit, which will use a payload known as Meterpreter. Now, Meterpreter is a special payload that allows us to interact with the target's operating system with an interactive shell. It is very stealthy, as it runs entirely within memory, as it hijacks another process instead of creating a new one. So it doesn't create any files on the target system. It also encrypts all of its communications between you and the target machine. It has a ton of features, as it allows you to do things such as take screenshots, plant keyloggers, access webcams, and elevate yourself to root or system privileges. We can collect even more data using post modules, which can be used to extract hash dumps, skill Kerberos tickets, and more. This data could be very helpful in getting us back into the system later on. You can also install software that will add another way back into the system later, like installing SSH. So once we're done with the system, we want to cover our tracks. So using the tools mentioned in the previous section, we can easily achieve this. And that's it for the explanation, and we'll move on to the lab. Okay. Cannot read that. Does anybody know how to make the channel bigger?
Command plus, control plus,
Control shift.
control alt shift plus.
Or go to view.
Yeah.
Yeah, view in the menu and then see if there's a one down. No, the other view, the view of the terminal.
Yeah.
See if there's a
Zoom in mode. The other thing you can do is go to file, go left, file, and then settings. So the preferences, and then look for font and change the font size. Yeah, make it like 27 or something. There, see, that's big enough, maybe.
Can you see that?
Cool.
Okay, so the first step we want to do is set up the database. So we can do so by system, ctl, start, host, start up. Next, sudo nsfgb, and then already set it up, so that's good to go. And now we can open up console. And yeah, you get a banner, randomize every time. You can check out more. First, let's check out the status of our database, and we're connected, so we're good. So, as I said earlier, we want to enumerate our target. So,